In this video, I'll demonstrate the seed stitch. Seed stitch creates a fabric that's flat and has an interesting texture to it. It's created by alternating knit and purl stitches, and then on the reverse side, staggering those stitches so that knits and purls aren't in a single column over each other, as they would be in knit one, purl one ribbing, but instead they're offset every other stitch, which creates this really nice reversible textured fabric. So I have here in front of me a little piece of this seed stitch. You'll also find it called moss stitch sometimes. And I have right now in front of me, the first stitch on the needle is a knit stitch. The second one is a purl, knit, purl, and so on. And that means this first stitch, unlike one by one ribbing, I'm going to want to purl. So in this case, I'm going to purl my knits and knit my purls. So for this first stitch, I'm going to want that yarn in front, and I'm going to plant, wrap, and push to create a purl stitch. Now I have a purl on my needle next, but I'm going to want to knit it so I can create that staggered look. I'm going to move my yarn to the back to create a knit stitch, plant, wrap, and pull. So I'm still alternating knits and purls, and I'm moving that yarn backward and forward, but I'm doing it in a way that is staggering the knits and purls. Now I have a knit stitch, so I moved my yarn forward, and I'm going to purl it. My next stitch is a purl stitch, but I need to create a knit, so I'm moving my yarn to the back and knitting it. So a couple of hints to let you know what you should be doing on that next stitch are: first, try to read your knitting. If I pull this down a little bit, I can see that V that's right there. There's a purl bump right below it, but the stitch that's right here on my needle is a knit stitch. So if I see I have a knit stitch, that means I need to purl it. The other hint is I've got my yarn in back right now, which means I just finished a knit stitch. So if I finished a knit stitch, the next one's going to be a purl. So I finished a knit stitch, there's a knit stitch on this needle, I need to purl it, which means I'm going to have to bring my yarn forward, insert from back to front, wrap the needle, and push it out the back. I've got a purl on my needle next. I need to knit it, move the yarn to the back, and knit. And I'm just going to go ahead and go across and do that the whole way across, alternating my yarn back and forth as I go. And you'll get into a nice rhythm after a little while. Okay, yarn forward to create a purl, and yarn back to create a knit. Okay, so I've knit that last stitch. Now I'm going to turn my work. Since I knit that last stitch, the stitch I created on the other side is a purl, and my yarn is in front. So that tells me I have a purl, which means I need to knit, because I'm knitting the purls and purling the knits. So I'll go ahead now and make sure that yarn's in back, insert from front to back, knit the stitch, pull it off. Now I need to purl, move that yarn to the front, purl, yarn to the back, knit, and yarn to the front, and purl. Oops, there we go. Take that off. All right, I move my yarn to the back, and I'm ready to knit that next purl stitch and continue on down the way. And and that is the seed stitch.